Yeah, this old cheeseburger here, man. Sitting around contemplating life, thinking about it. Uh, it comes to my attention from a lot of different directions and a lot of different people that ignorance is, in abundance. Ignorance does not mean stupidity or does not mean that one is stupid. It means that one has not been taught of something and is ignorant of a particular subject. Ignorance is so abound, people think that they really understand suffering. People that have really never experienced any kind of true suffering try to profess suffering. Now, I could take someone in my own situation and say that I have suffered. I'm a paraplegic. Had a major spinal cord injury midway through my life, and it created some difficulties. Still does. But is that suffering? In all reality, no, it is not suffering. My suffering stopped the time when they picked me up off the interstate. The paramedics, and it continued a little bit longer than that, but it stopped when I was in the hospital. They stopped my suffering. Suffering is someone that has no outlet for it. I have seen suffering on this magnitude. It was usually from a man that had no control of his arms or legs or any other part of his body, which meant he had no control of his life. People talk about not being able to control their life. It's the government or whatnot. But when you sit and you talk to a man, his only movement is his neck and his lips and his breath. You understand what suffering is. From that man in a free society, we understand the imprisonment that can be. Now, here's a man in a free society. Take away his inability to walk and move, he would be a free man and be able to do what he wants. And he can at some point at a point. But if you really look at it, and I have talked to people on this extent, but there's the only reason I would even attempt to say what I'm going to say. I have been asked by a grown man to kill him. His ability to do it himself he couldn't. This man begged me to kill him. A lot of people talk about stress and traumatic stuff. At this time, I was asked to kill this man. Myself, I was dealing with a great deal of pain in my head. I'd lost a lot. But I had not lost nowhere nearly what this man had. This man had lost the ability to just touch his face, scratch his nose, feed himself. And other than his verbal and facial expressions, express himself. This is a thought that a lot of people cannot really comprehend, myself being included. I cannot comprehend what this man's thoughts were. I can only purvey and tell people what the feelings of this man was. He asked me to end his life. And the reason he didn't ask me to bludgeoningly kill him or nothing like that. He asked me to sabotage his life. The medical part of it. And I could have done it, but ethically or whatever you want to call it, I just couldn't do it. In me, I didn't have the balls to do it. But this man wanted to die. I know he meant it seriously because he begged for me to do so and told me ways I could do it. And I have to say, people that disagree with this man really didn't talk to him. And if I would have been in my state of mind that I am right now, I might have obliged this man because I understand his plight. It's a plight that a lot of people never will understand. Many persons will never understand real suffering. But they talk about it. I hear about it. I hear Christians talk about it all the time. It's the suffering us non-believers will experience. And they talk about it as they know, but they really don't know, because most of the Christians I know live a pretty modest and substantial life without really any, you know, real struggles or anything. You know, maybe they lack of money or material things, but actual health and everything, they're pretty good. They're a whole lot better than people were 200 years ago. But they still talk about this. They still talk about the suffering. I've seen suffering from a man's eye that was ready to die. And that suffering was not really suffering. It was an agony for life that the man could not actually have. People really don't understand that. An agony for life. A pain for life is something that 95% of people will never understand. The other 5% that do, they can't explain it to the other 95%. Because unless you are without, you don't really know what you have. And that's all I ask for people, to understand and to look beyond their understanding. Question people they don't understand. Fear is only something that people don't understand. It's usually, I fear something because I'm ignorant of what it is. Once the ignorance is gone, usually the fear is. And that's all I ask for people. People drop their ignorance.